Welcome back, friends. Last guy here. Time for more voice LP. Let's go. Loading in. Great Ace Attorney. So, a lot of things happened with life. I, have not recorded in 2 months. So, we're gonna see where these voices are, but I'm gonna be recording normally again. So, however long this trial goes still will, there'll be more consistency in me recording. So these voices should be more consistent. And I'll probably take a little break before case 4, and then and so on. Okay. Because there's only 2 more cases, so. 24th of October, 9:11 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be. Even I. With nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Just cuts him off. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. The hell was that sound? I think that was the game... That was the thing updated. Why, naturally, a true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'll see you later, then? Now, Professor, we really need you to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to entertain the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but My dear fellows, I must interject. Oh my god! I knew this joke was coming. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction, Sorry, I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Herlock Sholmes, greatest detective of worldwide acclamation. Acclamation. Means acclaim, right? Arose at some ungodly hour to be here now. First thing in the morning, a miracle, you must agree? Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Iris had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me and kicked me in from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Oh my, Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist. One who relishes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. I'm assuming this is sorry to cut in. Nope, sorry to cut in. Okay. Oh, Inspector Gregson, good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow, why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Fish and chips, fish and chips. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me, are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? What? I don't know! Poor Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. It's the professor's autopsy report. That mass murderers? Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy? He was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps. And he was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. The killer's autopsy report has been entered into the court record. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. I went through puberty. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. Us lowly lot at the yard are just doing what we can. In the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Ta! Well, Well then, Professor Harebrain, this is it! Today we're going to lay all this up to rest at last. I wish you the best luck, Professor. I suppose he'll be in there today, will he? Drebber? Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. Oh, Jinx says Enoch Drebber is from the Sherlock Holmes books. I'm still amazed that you have managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. Counsel and the defendant. The trial is about to resume. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Yay. This is it then, the final chapter. Funny, my heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. This strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. Is it Kazuma? But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. I think I should probably wait till the whole line and then say it. I think that might help me out. Finding the truth! Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do that. I was going to try to wait for the whole line to go through, then say it. Because there's times when I'm saying it mid-going, and then it's just... I mess up my cadence, because like, oh, that's not what I expected them to say. 24th of October, 9:30 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh god, did I have voices for these people? Oh no. Oh, it's been a while since this was. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Harebrain, here, present, who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution and defense ready to proceed? Oh, there he is. Kazuma's here. The prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. As promised, Lord Von Zeeks has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. If I may, Lord Von Zeeks. Yes, my lord? There appears to be someone standing at your side. Like, I'm still reading from the thing directly. Ah, yes, my apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. Nice. I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments by the look of it. Still reading it live. The way he holds himself, the way he moves. It couldn't be anyone else. You know, if it's not Cosmo, that's gonna hurt. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but... oh, this is so very hard. Tell me about it. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today. Are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we all understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick, it is against the magician code, not to mention the law. Oh, we have these guys. Any fake scientist should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me. That's very interesting to hear that. We had to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence, and, then settle on one, that's it, isn't it? Making me hungry, ma'am. Making me hungry. Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. Alright, whatever the previous voices are, they're replaced by that. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Von Zeeks. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court. Yesterday at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case. The super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed in the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion affected by an unknown person or persons. It was what? An explosion? This is an outrage! The magician's gonna be very helpful with Drebber for sure. Yes, I've heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers. I thought I was gonna say smithereens. And the wreckage reduced to ashes in the flames. Metal reduced to ashes? I have a photographic print of the scene taken in the wake of the explosion. Didn't it just fall through the trap then? It shows the little remains of the machine. Yes. A terrible business. He did it to destroy the evidence, did he? That Enoch Drebber. The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. The post-explosion photograph has been entered into the court record. Late yesterday afternoon, the protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. Huh? Huh? As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed. A most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. But it was the accused himself who was operating the machine, and who ultimately caused its loss of control. Objection! As Lord Von Zeeks rightfully says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Asmund died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Asmund. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. Got a little tongue-tied there. Unequivocal got my ass. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Von Zeeks, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Enoch Drebber, to the stand. Again, it's got like a robo voice. I remember that, but how good was it? I don't remember. Let's try to make it better. State your name and occupation for the court. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation? Robot. Hard to pin down, I would say. See that black monocle? Yes, why do I feel as though I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too? Hi, I had the exact same feeling myself. Yeah, there's a reason for that. a certain case. Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? A most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Leave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago? The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration? Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment. Or so our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all. Then the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. We need to do more pauses. What? Good gracious. Do you mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew up. Objection! But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick. Objection! You've established nothing of the sort. Huh? All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings? Is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of stage trickery? Ah. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. But... We've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration at the Great Exhibition. Understood. There's no way people in this time would think of that voice as the voice, but we're doing it anyway. The kinesis machine. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints, and I constructed the machine to its precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? Waxwork. All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads, and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. But why did he kill O.D. Asman is the question. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved, when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. Why would you give that away? Seriously. But deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original, with a fake at some point in the performance. The magician's gonna agree to this, yeah. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? I should have said, like, Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. It's my understanding that this witness is well-versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex scientific machine. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber. Indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science there. Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If our hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sibling, talentless scientists in the past. Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident, or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science?
Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. What are you cross-examining? He said a bunch of crap right there. 5 things. Is it 5 things? The kinesis machine. It is 5 things, alright. Wait a sec. Yeah, we read all these. I'm double checking we actually read this stuff. Okay, press.
Hold it!
So you were already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself? Not really. By chance, I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was of no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for.
So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular, then? I wonder if I understand butt cadence at all. I don't think I do.
Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering.
Not to mention excellence in fraud.
Hard to gauge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given.
In other words, the kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles.
Yes, you might say that. Professor Harebrain certainly has a mind like no other.
We should look at the evidence really quick, shouldn't we? Because we gotta figure out what's worth hitting. So, what's the new evidence we got? We got these 2 things. Look at this first. So, we just got the shoot and explosion things, okay? And then over here we got a report. Let's take a look. Condemned prisoner redacted for confidentiality. Pseudonym the Professor. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th of June. Courtney Stevens. That's it? It's gonna go well. Waxwork head. Oh yeah, head of the guy who they hanged. Anything to look at here? Oh! This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal. I know, it's starting to make me livid, actually. Mr. Naruhodo, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. Oh, right. Sorry. That's it? Nothing else? Okay, and also, not like Madame Tispel would get the correct, face under there, right? We looked at these other things, I'm pretty sure, so... Let's go and get back in here. Alright, press. It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic, however. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. What your implications is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind.
And there's nothing left of that device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear.
This guy used a time bomb, so I gotta believe that. He might have done it. He must have planned all this from the outset.
But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been a trick.
I just don't know why he would bring up the twin part. Like, he just threw us a bone with that one.
Hold it!
Of course, that's it! Mr. Asmund was a twin!
Objection!
That was already explained. I don't even know why Naruhodo's going over this.
Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Asmund had no twin siblings.
No, I heard you before. But the thread of hope hadn't quite left me.
The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked significantly like their victim. But Dr. Scythe absolutely ruled out that possibility. It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asmund, did move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Asmund, then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, no, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is playing on my mind. If we have someone, I got no idea.
Hold it!
It crashed head first, you say?
According to the many witnesses' reports from those there at the time, yes.
Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day?
Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop.
Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene.
Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd labored over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. The birdcage plummeting headfirst into the tower.
What a surprise!
I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it?
How would you know that? How would you have come by that information?
Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body.
Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant. And he had broken vertebrae as a result of a fall from a considerable height.
Correct, my learned friend has been doing his research, it seems.
Do we know which injury was the fatal one?
Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such things can be determined.
My question is, could he have just been a couple hours dead? Like, that's gotta be the explanation, right? He was already dead and in there, and then they did all this stuff. Or in the balloon, and then they did all this stuff.
What we do know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. And since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken, it's obvious that he fell from a considerable height.
I suppose that's hard to deny.
Hold it!
So you understood the science, did you?
Not in the slightest.
Oh!
Right. As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. I would be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to suggest the ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example.
But how is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies on? Oh, it ain't hard. Plenty of people have proven that. Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you?
A very good point.
Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruhodo. The point is, the experiment results in instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really, experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis.
He's certainly very sure of himself.
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now that the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's going to be impossible to argue its authenticity one way or the other.
But if we're unable to establish that it was a piece of staged trickery rather than genuine science, we'll have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Hairbrain's innocence.
Both Mr. Asman and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his naivete and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it. And seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Von Zeke's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Mr. Trevor? Let's say Mr. Trevor, it is Trevor. Okay, so... what do I have? Autopsy report. Hemorrhageable wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp implement. Or converter ray, most likely resulting from impact of a sudden fall from considerable height. Courtney Scythe. Was she the same one? Autopsy here? Yeah, Courtney Stevens! Different Courtney. Alright, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Over here. Okay, that's the shot. Trevor. Hold on a second. Go back in there. Trevor. Feel like we gotta bring this up somehow. I just don't know when. Okay, so. I'm in trouble here. I got no idea. I really want to hit him on the, let's save really quick. Scum save. I want to hit him on the trapdoor. What did he really want a trapdoor in the machine? Is that a thing that the professor wanted? Let's see. See if we can hit him on that.
Objection!
Nah, it's not this. The defense would have to object to that last statement, my lord. And I would have to overrule your objection, counsel. The defense would have to accept the penalty given. Glad to hear it. And you would also have to think again. Alright. The science being a flaw? How would that be proven here? Oh, he didn't land on the head, he landed on the bottom, so the base. Okay, so where did he mention the head injury? There it is. Yeah, we can hit him on this. Double check.
Objection!
Yep, okay, we're getting one on that. Okay. We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage.
All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. What are you saying? You expect to land on the head?
That's the opposite of where they should be.
That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the Crystal Tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. Ooh, okay. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two birdcages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Ooh, didn't see that coming. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Yeah.
Good gracious, explain yourself, witness.
Well... If we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower.
Objection!
But multiple witnesses' reports claim it fell head first. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion. At an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level, which is approximately 18 meters. It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the Crystal Tower in the ensuing deflagration. Witnesses' reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Objection!
But the victim's neck was broken.
Objection!
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However, he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. Cut. A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though, to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebra, actually. Huh? He wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Von Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler and one who deceived a personal friend of his. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here. Yes. There's one more point the defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates.
What? It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Draper, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth.
Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically, after all. I nearly had him there. The kinesis clearly took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from.
Isn't that easily refuted by a balloon?
I got two different things I can throw at him here. Maybe three, so skill save. Skill save. Gotta be sure about this. Okay, so we can try the diagram with the balloon. No, it's not in there. Oh, so just shoot the picture.
Objection!
That didn't work. Alright, go back. Oh, wait, I didn't press him on this. Wait, what am I doing? I haven't pressed him on this. What am I thinking? Press.
Hold it!
What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Asman on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Could he have made himself Odie Asman? Could he have hidden himself as that man?
I don't... Probably not. He doesn't have the same build at all, as far as we can tell.
Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell. And there's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance, if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage into the sky above the crystal tower.
A trenchant. A scientific analysis. Trenchant? Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible.
Oh yes. It's all very well thought out. Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean.
Irritatingly, yes.
Now it comes up.
I believe it's the balloons, but how do we prove that? Let's just try that diagram. I got a couple things to try. Let's try from left to right. Try this one first.
Objection.
Oh, it's just that! Son of a... This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in the mid-air before falling down into the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel. Yes, my lord. Of course. You'll indicate the place to which you are referring on this same diagram. The balloon. The alternative location from which the birdcage could have possibly fallen the requisite 30 feet. Up there! From a balloon. Present.
Take that!
If it had fallen from here, the birdcage would have plummeted the same 30 feet distance.
Objection!
If that's my learned friend's claim, I suggest he demonstrates for the court, personally.
Huh? And you may consider this a parting gift, counsel. What? Alright. Can I scroll the camera? No? Why can't they present the balloon? What the hell? How about the other balloon? How about the other balloon?
Take that!
Okay, explain this to me, bro. The place I'm referring to is here. But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with. Which is... Oh, son of a bitch. That's what I was thinking too earlier. The trap door. But I wasn't thinking that's when he was going to reveal it. Okay. Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage. But what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Go on, counsel. It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's at about the same height above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. Dunk. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we assumed there had to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
Objection!
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself. It's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. Oh, they're just gonna give it to us? Okay. I thought I was gonna have to present this. Good lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone. Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated. Immediately! Mr. Drebber. It was you who built the kinesis machine. Which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Harebrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference. Because it's the construction of this machine that matters. A machine designed to take Mr. Asmon's life. I laid the blame firmly at the professor's door. Something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber. What the fudge?
Objection!
Oh no. If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions... Waste. The prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely. What? The argument fails to hold water. On 2 counts. 2? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff on the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages.
Objection!
But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal at that point. And the second flaw in your assertion is the distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. A motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? By the way, motive is an issue when it comes to serial killers because they have no reason behind why they kill people, they just do it. I have here a contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Von Zix? The contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Asmon. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of our remunerations from government grants or other income. 30%? Certainly very favorable contractual conditions. But there was one very important provision bolted into that contract. That clause. What provision? Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. What? In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asmon's death. The diametric opposite, in fact. Why is it even in there? Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime.
In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil. Ah! Ah! It seems the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. Lord von Zeeks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. Drebber's contract has been entered in the court record. Take a look at that. It's true. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with the one in the Crystal Tower, he could have done it. And in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. There's one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. Huh? There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. Ah! So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruto. And I've no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths, too. Well, it would seem that the defense has no rejoinder to offer. Well, I must say, I'm a little surprised. What's the cuckoo supposed to be anyway? I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled. But the prosecution's counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Objection!
No, bitch. At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage. Yet now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit. Get to the point? The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself. It points to the fact that someone else was involved. Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting... Yes, my lord. Mr. Drebber had an accomplice.
Objection!
Ooh, who could that be? An accomplice now? Well then, I presume... you're prepared for what's to come? I thought you were accusing not only this witness, but someone else? Of the most serious of crimes? If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Well then, counsel, you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter? What do I do here? At the moment, this is little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Drebber had an accomplice, or even if he really is the culprit here. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear. As a lawyer. So what's my stance going to be? Did Drebber have an accomplice or not? Oh, Jesus. Oh, jeez. I think you backed down here. I don't know what the accomplice is. Save. Well, we'll figure that out next time, because I got no idea right now. Oh, yeah. Real quick before we stop. People. Okay, here's my guesses. Accomplice, Asmon. Because he's not actually dead somehow. It's a fake, I don't know. Other accomplice? That'd be ballsy. Making it harebrained. Other accomplice? Maybe it's Courtney. Problem is like... we have no way to make that connection right now. I feel like we're supposed to back down here. But also, we're not supposed to back down. I don't know. I do not know.
Well, why would Asmund kill himself, right? But we will figure that out. Well, we'll get it wrong until we get it right next time. So that's it for now. I had fun. Hope you have fun watching. That's what's all about it. Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time. I had no idea. I got no idea. Go ahead and go in the comments and say who the hell the accomplice is if you think there is one. And we'll see what it is next time. See ya!